Reproduction cannot create irreducible complexity. Irreducible complexity is the fact that certain biological systems are composed of multiple, well-matched parts, all of which are necessary for the system to function. The removal of any one part renders the system inoperative, showing that it could not have evolved through a gradual process of random mutation and natural selection. Evolution believers argue that complex biological structures, including those that exhibit irreducible complexity, can emerge over long periods of time through reproduction, mutation, and selection. However, as we will show here, the process of reproduction alone cannot account for the origin of irreducible complexity. Rather, irreducible complexity points to the necessity of an intelligent designer, God, who is the source of the complex and purposeful structures found in living organisms. 1. What is irreducible complexity? The concept of irreducible complexity was popularized by biochemist Michael Behe in his book Darwin's Black Box. Behe defined an irreducibly complex system as a single system composed of several well-matched, interacting parts that contribute to the basic function, wherein the removal of any one of the parts causes the system to effectively cease functioning. In other words, an irreducibly complex system cannot be built gradually, because every part must be present and functional from the start. Examples often cited include the bacterial flagellum, a microscopic motor that allows bacteria to swim, which consists of numerous protein components all working together in precise harmony. The blood clotting cascade, a complex biochemical pathway that prevents excessive bleeding, which involves many steps and proteins, all of which are necessary for the process to work. The eye, which requires multiple interdependent structures, such as the retina, lens, cornea, and optic nerve, to function properly. Each of these examples demonstrates how removing or altering a single component would cause the system to fail entirely, making it difficult to see how such systems could have evolved through gradual, step-by-step modifications. This is the essence of irreducible complexity. The whole system must be in place for it to function. 2. The limitations of reproduction and natural selection. Proponents of Darwinian evolution argue that complex systems like the bacterial flagellum or the eye could have evolved through a process of random mutation, reproduction, and natural selection. However, this explanation has significant limitations when applied to irreducibly complex systems. The process of reproduction alone, even when combined with natural selection, cannot account for the origin of such complexity. A. Incremental evolution and functional intermediates. Evolutionary theory posits that complex structures evolve gradually through a series of small, incremental changes, each of which confers a survival advantage to the organism. However, this model requires that each intermediate stage be functional and beneficial for the organism. In the case of irreducibly complex systems, this poses a major problem. For example, if an organism is developing a flagellum through evolutionary processes, the flagellum must be able to confer some functional benefit at each step of its development. But if the intermediate stages of flagellum development lack the essential components that allow it to function as a rotary motor, those stages would be non-functional and offer no evolutionary advantage. Natural selection would not favor the preservation of non-functional or partially constructed systems, leading to their elimination rather than their completion. The same logic applies to other irreducibly complex systems. In the blood clotting cascade, for instance, if even one of the necessary proteins or steps were missing, the organism would likely die from uncontrolled bleeding. The entire system must be present and fully functional from the outset, making it highly unlikely that it could have evolved step by step through reproduction and mutation. B. The role of random mutations. While random mutations can introduce genetic variations in populations, they are not sufficient to explain the assembly of irreducibly complex systems. Most mutations are neutral or harmful rather than beneficial, and even beneficial mutations are typically small, affecting only one component of an organism at a time. For an irreducibly complex system to arise through random mutations, multiple, precisely coordinated mutations would need to occur simultaneously, all contributing to the development of the necessary components for the system to function. The probability of such coordinated mutations occurring by chance is astronomically low, making the random mutation explanation highly implausible for the origin of irreducible complexity. 3. Reproduction and complexity. Why complexity cannot arise gradually. The process of reproduction, combined with natural selection, is often cited as the mechanism by which complexity emerges in biological systems. However, irreducible complexity presents a fundamental challenge to this view. Reproduction, by itself, cannot generate the kind of tightly integrated, interdependent systems that define irreducible complexity. A. Reproduction and gradualism. Reproduction involves the passing of genetic information from one generation to the next, with occasional mutations that introduce variability into the gene pool. Over time, natural selection acts on these mutations, favoring those that confer a survival advantage. While this process can account for small, gradual changes in an organism's traits, it cannot explain the simultaneous development of multiple interdependent components required for irreducibly complex systems. Irreducibly complex systems, by their very nature, do not function unless all of their components are present and correctly assembled. Therefore, the gradual accumulation of mutations through reproduction would fail to produce such systems, as intermediate stages without all the necessary parts would be non-functional and thus would not be favored by natural selection. The reproductive process, combined with mutation and selection, lacks the capacity to produce the fully integrated systems required for irreducible complexity. B. Irreducibility versus redundancy. Some evolutionary biologists propose that irreducibly complex systems could have evolved from simpler systems that originally had redundant parts. For example, they argue that a system with many redundant components might lose some of its parts over time, leaving only the essential, interdependent components that form an irreducibly complex system. While this hypothesis might explain the loss of redundancy in some cases, it does not account for the origin of the system's core components. Moreover, many irreducibly complex systems, such as the bacterial flagellum, show no evidence of having evolved from simpler, redundant systems. Instead, they appear to have been designed with all of their parts working together from the start. 4. The theistic explanation. Design as the source of irreducible complexity. If reproduction, mutation, and natural selection cannot account for irreducible complexity, what can? Theism, particularly the idea of intelligent design, offers a compelling explanation. The complexity and interdependence of biological systems point to the work of a rational, purposeful creator who designed these systems to function as complete, integrated wholes. A. Design versus chance. Where Darwinian evolution relies on chance mutations and gradualism to explain biological complexity, theism posits that complexity arises from intelligent design. Just as an engineer carefully designs a machine with all of its components working together, so too does the designer, God, create biological systems that function as irreducible wholes. The intricate complexity of life reflects the intentionality and wisdom of the creator. B. The signature of intelligence. Irreducible complexity bears the hallmark of intelligence. When we encounter complex systems in everyday life, such as a car engine or a computer, we recognize that they were designed by intelligent agents. The parts of these systems are carefully arranged and matched to perform a specific function, and the removal of any one part renders the system inoperative. Similarly, irreducibly complex biological systems point to an intelligent cause, as they exhibit the same features of purposeful design. Theism provides a satisfying explanation for the origin of irreducible complexity, offering a worldview in which the complexity of life is the result of intentional creation rather than the blind forces of chance and natural selection. 5. Conclusion. Reproduction cannot create irreducible complexity. The reality of irreducible complexity falsifies the Darwinian framework of gradual mega-evolution through reproduction and natural selection. Reproduction cannot generate the integrated, interdependent systems required for irreducibly complex biological structures. Instead, these systems point to the existence of a purposeful, intelligent creator. The failure of naturalistic explanations to account for irreducible complexity strengthens the case for intelligent design. The finely tuned, complex systems found in living organisms bear witness to a designer who created life with intention and purpose. Far from being the result of random processes, the complexity of life reflects the wisdom and creativity of God, the ultimate source of all order and design in the universe. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and comment below if you agree or would like to add your thoughts. If you would like me to respond to your comment, please make a level 1 comment directly below the video. I will respond to all polite level 1 comments even if it takes me a while, due to other commitments.